Hello everybody, and thank you for tuning into today's episode of Armchair Gaming. I am your host, Sheldon, also known as the Unbearable Gamer. Today we're going to be taking another look at Destiny 2, and more specifically looking at the new DLC, which has been out for, I guess, just over a month now, the Curse of Osiris. And we're going to be doing our best to take an in-depth look into not just how the Curse of Osiris changes the philosophy of Destiny, but we're going to take a look at Osiris himself, because he's a pretty cool character. He's one of my favorite NPC characters to be produced for a game franchise ever. I'm going to die here. So I wanted to open up with some PvP just so that we could kind of dive in and see what's what. I have the wrong weapons equipped. There we go, that's what I want. But I wanted to talk about philosophy in the new DLC, because we shift away from dealing with the Cabal and their insurgency, but we begin to deal more with the Vex. And I know we touched briefly on who the Vex are. Oh, hey buddy. Oh, that's a rocket launcher. Should have seen that one come. So we get to take a better look at who the Vex are and how they relate to the Destiny franchise, and they're kind of cool. In the first Destiny, there was some distinct dealing with the Vex. And Destiny 2 certainly does, kind of puts them by the wayside for a bit. They're here, they're annoying, but that's about it. Hey, big guy. Sorry, I have other, like, controller configurations stuck in my brain, too. Thank you. Pardon my language. So, Destiny 2, when this match is over, I want to read the flavor texts for one of the pieces of armor that's available to warlocks. But while we get there, I guess I'll talk about why I think Osiris is worth talking about in this game. And as we know, in the Destiny universe, we've dealt with the Vex a little bit. We're dealing with them more in this DLC. But there are three playable classes, right? There are your warlocks, your titans, and your hunters. These are the three playable classes, and they all handle differently. They all do different things, and that's indicative of kind of who leads them, who guides them, and how they operate. The Titans are kind of the stalwart protectors of the Vanguard and of the Tower. You know, they rely on brute force strength and sheer willpower to accomplish feats that no normal man could accomplish. And they kind of... Zavala is kind of portrayed, or Vuvuzela, as Asher Mir so lovingly called him. I'm gonna die again. He is often portrayed as maybe not the most intelligent, but certainly the strongest of the Vanguard leaders. He's present, and he's powerful. And he wears his chest proudly, and he when you interact with him, you can almost sense that he's a guy who believes in strength over anything. And there is the hunters, and they're led by Cade 6, who's voiced by Nathan Fillion, my boy, who doesn't love Nathan Fillion, really. I love the Canadian. I died again because I'm garbage. That's a pretty cool gun. Medley 45. Okay. Yeah, there we go. So Nathan Fillion, or I should say Cade 6, is the Hunter leader. The Hunters almost have this weird Wild West vibe to them, and that's like emphasized by the fact that like a lot of their weapons a lot of their armor benefits using things like hand cannons and stuff like that. I'm not gonna accomplish anything. Well, maybe I will. I'll take the double kill. Damn it! That was smart play on far away Andy's move. But the hunters, they seem sly, and they seem sharp-witted and like sharp-tongued, but they don't seem like scholarly, scholastic, or intelligent. You know, they're shoot first, ask questions maybe if the corpse is around long enough for you to inquire about it. I'll take that. So it's kind of interesting because you get to see this, and then when you look at those two, and you look at the warlocks are led by Ikora Rey, and Ikora Rey is this. When at the start of this game, she's very angry looking. She gets really frustrated when you're playing the turret. She seems infuriated with the Cabal, but beyond that, she seems to put spirituality and wisdom above all else, and that's indicative of how warlocks operate in the game. Warlocks are less about shoot first, ask questions later. They're more about manipulating the environment and understanding what's going on, right? Boom. There is this quintessent, like, calmness to them when like, boop! There we go, that should do. Where'd you go? Come back here. And unlike the Hunter and the Titan, there we go. The Warlocks seem more interested in understanding their universe. And in the Destiny lore, there are these people called Thanatos, or Thanatos? I don't remember. Basically, they were warlocks who would kill themselves, wait for their ghost to resurrect them, but they would hold off on the resurrection as long as possible in an attempt to understand what death was, and how to manipulate the void. So in that regard, they seem far less run gun and more how do we proceed, you know? They were the thinkers of the group. Nice, thanks, King Shot. So I think that's kind of cool, and I want to bring this up primarily because Osiris is a warlock. In Destiny lore, he's considered to be one of the, if not the strongest warlock to ever grace the Vanguard. He's no longer a member of the Vanguard. Ooh. Okay, no, you just fell. Grenade. Damn it. Oh, baby. Yeah. What up? So there's this. I'm gonna die. Yeah. He obviously there's more to Osiris than just being one of the strongest in the Vanguard, and that kind of comes through the more you get to know him, or you read the lore, you play the game. Osiris was to the Vanguard what Zavala was. So Zavala is the leader of the Vanguard, and before him, Osiris was. But Osiris was banished from the Vanguard for his raw obsession with the Vex. He spent a lot of time experimenting and trying to understand the Vex and pushing the limits of human understanding of the universe, really, of void light, of how arc energy works, how solar energy works. He wanted to push the limits of human understanding and did so in a way that threatened all of humanity, or what was left of humanity, I should say. So it's kind of cool. You get to... Really? But yeah, so he was banished, and they're let's do this. Oh, neat, overtime. Oh. There's this oh, that seems like a rocket launcher. Oh no, it's not. Good night. So Osiris, after he was banished, kind of progresses, and he's banished, and then he goes to explore more about the Vex, because while the Vanguard may be done with him, he is not done with what the Vanguard has to offer. Oh, there we go. That's a W. Put that W on the board, friends. What the heck are those? So, I'm gonna read something about why Destiny kind of pushes us to want to understand. Oh, pardon me. How Destiny tries to make us understand differently how our universe works. And I gotta read the tail end of one of the flavor texts of a piece of warlock armor. And it's a conversation between Ikora Rey and one of her like hidden worker people. I don't know. She's got like a secret agency that she leads. Blah blah blah. That's the hidden. We're going to start right here. This is why you're taking less fieldwork, because you're reading on Circles Volume 12. I wrote it. Unsurprising. I have to rewrite it, all 12 volumes. Dare ask why? The Traveler's alive. I've heard. Chalco shrugs. So our physics framework was completely wrong. Even about, like, circles, Ikora turns to look at Chalco in the eyes. Especially about circles. So Destiny wants us to reevaluate Destiny wants us to believe that the way the universe operates is fundamentally different or fundamentally misunderstood relative to how we perceive the universe. And I think they do a pretty good job of suspending disbelief. But more to Osiris. Osiris was enamored with the Vex to the point of firmly believing that there is more to them than meets the eye. And I feel like I don't know if this was intentional, but there is this aspect of Osiris which is very much in line with the early Western thinkers, and I mean to go as far back as like Socrates and Plato, with a splash of Friedrich Nietzsche and Heidegger. It's almost as if Osiris were a philosopher who was then gifted with the ability to not fear the unknown. For those of you who aren't familiar, when Socrates, towards the end of Socrates' life, he was sentenced to death by hemlock, and at his last meal, his friends asked, "Are you afraid to die?" He said, "I do not fear the unknown, because I don't know what happens after death. Why should I fear it? You should never fear the unknown." So Osiris seems to be Socrates if you took away the ability to experience the unknown, or the inability to return the ability to return from the unknown. Socrates, once he died, he was done. Our friend Osiris is welcome to return from the unknown over and over and over again and expand on his understanding of the unknown. So I think Osiris does a really good job of embodying both ancient and modern philosophers, because he is this guy who was interested in the Vex, and that interest kind of spiraled out of control. If you read texts by Martin Heidegger or Friedrich Nietzsche, Jean-Paul Sartre, early existentialist thinkers, and then you look at older Western thinkers like Plato, Socrates, Aristotle, Epicurus, sometimes you begin to see that there's this obsessive habit of theirs where they seem to believe, or I shouldn't say believe, but they begin to habitualize this craving of something. Is that a helmet? That is a helmet. That's a pretty cool looking helmet.
You just never quit, do you? Took out
Shut
golf,
up, Hawthorne. I don't care.
traveler,
Just give me the item.
And now half of what I hear on the street.
So I think Osiris does a really good job of him kind of just reflecting what it is to be a philosopher. Obviously he takes it too far, and I would speculate he is the reason why Plato is definitely wrong on the fact that philosophers should be rulers, because we should not be. Because philosophers tend, when you love something so much that you begin to obsess over it, as is the case with many philosophers, because philosophy is the love of wisdom. So there's this, it's not essential, but there's this weird obsessive component of philosophy where you begin to you fixate on something, whether it was what is made of what the universe is made of, or in the case of Socrates, what it is to actually understand something, because Socrates was most famous for postulating that human knowledge was incomplete or broken or just wrong. Friedrich Nietzsche was obsessed with the principle of the Übermensch, of living your best life and not living to the confines of society. So there's this push in philosophy where people become fixated on a single point, and certainly Osiris fits that mold. His love of the Vex, or his love of wanting to know the Vex, led him to be exiled from his role in the Vanguard. He was no longer fit to lead, no longer fit to be a part of the Vanguard, and so he was removed. I think that's really important. It's kind of cool when you evaluate how it is that he chooses to think when you interact with him, because he's so obsessed with the Vex that he spends his days exploring. In this case, he's exploring. What's it called? Let's just go there. Let's end our video by going there. So this takes place in the Field of Glass, the lighthouse. It's fudge. What's it called? It's some kind of forest, I think. That's so bad I can't remember. But he essentially spends his time like exploring an infinite number of Vex simulations, and he is so compelled to understand the Vex that he has unlocked an ability for himself to kind of split himself into like shadow replicas who can explore alternative simulations, and those shadows are able to split even further. So this is a guy whose love of wisdom is boundless. I think it'd be interesting to see what could happen if you forced philosophers to have that same kind of ability, or not forced, but if you gave philosophers in this day and age that kind of ability. Like if you gave Friedrich Nietzsche immortality, you know, what would he be writing about? I think it's really cool to see philosophers being portrayed in a less than mundane life, because typically speaking, when you think of philosophers, you know, you think of either like old white men in togas with big white beards saying, "Ah, I wonder," or you think of Friedrich Nietzsche sitting in a chair looking at his sister deadpan going, "Why?" I mean, you don't think about badasses with guns exploring an infinitum of universes and alternative realities, trying to understand what it is that actually fabricates reality, and trying to understand why it is the Vex fear both humans, the Traveler, and why they're here. You know, why do they chase us? They know they can't replicate the light, so why do they choose to engage in combat with us? So this is where it takes place. This is where all of Osiris is. This is where Osiris is at the moment, in this weird warp gate thingy. So let's hop in here. I don't know what's going to happen when I go through it without having a mission selected. Oh, I just can't. Well, fine then. I hate you too. That's going to wrap up today's video. I think I might do one more video on Curse of Osiris. Maybe I'll set myself up to like interact with him during a quest. Yeah, Osiris is a badass philosopher of the distant future, and if you ever need to wonder what a philosopher can be as opposed to an old crazy white man, you should look to the Osiris in the Curse of Osiris Destiny 2 DLC, because he is certainly a philosopher, and he is certainly portrayed as maybe a little crazy, but more so just a gosh darn baller. So thanks so much for tuning into today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed it and learned a little bit about philosophy and philosophers. And if you did and you enjoyed the video, don't be afraid to throw it a like, and check out the Scholarly Gamers website. You should follow me on Twitter for a lot of fun updates. I've been a little quiet as of late, but that's going to change. Just took a hiatus, as it were, to deal with some family stuff. And just to try and recalibrate where my head was at, because I was getting a little overwhelmed with life. But that's done. We're back at it full force. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you tune in to the next one. And hopefully you learned something fun about being a crazy philosopher. Have a good one.